Feliz Ano Novo Brasil! Na verdade, estamos gravando antes em Nova York. Eu agora estou em Roraima com o João do Litoral. Estão seguindo nas mídias sociais? Estão inscritos no canal? Então, hoje é a posse do Jair Bolsonaro. A gente pediu para nossos seguidores, eleitores de Bolsonaro, mandar vídeos de aproximadamente 30 segundos sobre por que eles votaram nele. E os nossos gringos nova-iorquinos vão reagir ao que eles falaram. Olha, a gente recebeu vários vídeos e a gente está mostrando para vocês na íntegra, tá? Eu só editei algumas pausas, mas estamos mostrando cada segundo dos vídeos que vocês mandaram. Pessoal, antes de deixar um comentário, por favor, observe a educação, como as pessoas falaram quando fizeram os vídeos e como os gringos estão reagindo. Ninguém está gritando, ninguém está chamando ninguém de comunista ou fascista. Então vamos tentar manter essa civilidade é uma palavra? Esse alto nível nos comentários. It's Inauguration Day in Brazil, and Jair Bolsonaro is becoming the next Brazilian president today. We asked our viewers who voted for him to send in videos explaining why they did so. And you're going to see those, and please comment. We know you don't know everything about Bolsonaro. We know you've just read a little bit about him, but do your best and just react honestly. And I know you know a little bit about Bolsonaro.
I'm really big into Brazilian politics, like in general.
Okay, my name is Freire, and I think he's the best option because, first, populism has shown to fail in every country it existed. Second, I haven't seen a first world nation having as many ministries and state-owned companies as Brazil have, and he's trying to get rid of it. And third, Brazil is very unsafe and he's a military. And fourth, if he was a fascist, he wouldn't be trying to give people weapons.
I get the whole notion of that there's a lot of money that's going to companies. That's where a lot of anger or unrest or disappointment with government comes from, so I get that. I don't know that being a fascist would prevent him from getting guns to people because if you run the government, nobody's got a bigger gun than you.
I liked his comment about trying to decentralize or to make private the different businesses. I think that is essential. I know that Bolsonaro is trying to move away or to privatize a lot of what is currently government-owned businesses, and I think that is a great idea to help bolster up the economy. And I know that a lot of that's actually driving investment into the country, which could be really profound.
It seems already that it's like the points, like the hot topics, like safety, what's happening with the money, are some of like the same like hot buttons that we see like a very divisive here. But I thought that was kind of interesting that the way to not be a fascist is to take away the weapons. It's like if he was a fascist, he wouldn't give anyone any weapons. And like here, like we know that's the opposite. We're like, we've got this going on and everybody's got guns. So I think that's interesting.
I think he has a couple of his main points that he's really into.
He's saying that because Bolsonaro is from the military, he will...
It's going to help clean everything up, I guess that. But I think that's a job for the police, maybe not the military. Or maybe they're one and the same. But I guess it's that attitude of, I'm going to come in, I'm strong, I don't put up with anything, like I'm going to get this place in order.
As far as I'm concerned, whenever I think of a military person being in charge of my security, I just assume the worst, not the best.
I also know that people use the word fascist when they don't like somebody. I don't know what the political climate is, but the more anger, the more likely that the word fascist is going to be used.
Hello, amigo gringo. You Americans have Trump, and Bolsonaro will be good for our country because he is our Trump. He's tough. He doesn't mince his words when he has an opinion, and besides, he is a friend of Israel. Bye-bye.
He said, you have Trump and Bolsonaro is our Trump, and immediately that child in the background screamed, and I feel like that sounds like a normal political conversation to me.
I think he's right about this whole like Trump, this is our Trump. I'm not a fan of Trump, so it's none of those like the reasons like, oh, he's friends with Israel, they're not like good reasons for me.
I don't know that telling an American that they have Trump and the reason I like this guy is because of Trump is because he's our Trump. I don't know that that sells it necessarily.
Well, maybe some Americans, but in New York, it's probably not a very popular message.
Right.
I get it. It's good to be tough and say your words, but the problem is that for Trump, he's not good for everyone. He's not good for a lot of people. If you're a minority, like, not very good. If you're a woman, you're not very good. If you have different sexual orientation, not very, you know what I mean? And they tend to say these wide mass opinions that, I'm going to do this for everyone. But it's almost like when they speak, there's a little asterisk at the end of the sentence that says everyone includes, like if it was white American, white males, and there's not a very even distribution of that.
I feel that Trump just says whatever he fucking wants when, sorry, I swore, but whatever he needs to say in the moment, he says, and I personally don't trust anything that he says because he backpedals on what he says. So to be excited about somebody who you can't believe what they're saying is concerning to me.
Not mincing your words and being tough isn't a good thing. Right now in the U.S., the economy is fairly good, but there are a lot of things you do have a lot of counter effects. If you chide someone like a bully on a playground, but they're like the president of another huge country, like that's not going to have long-lasting good effects. And I get the point that you want someone tough that's going to do what they say, but number one, politics isn't that black and white, and number two, you should really look out for someone who is everyone's best interest in their favor. The thing with Trump in America is he's not very popular here. He didn't win the popular vote.
And it seems that Israel and being a friend of Israel is important to this person. So great, having friends is always good.
Olá, meu nome é Vinícius de Castro, eu sou de São Paulo, eu moro em Montreal. E o meu argumento é de que ele propõe maior liberdade econômica, o que significa menos regulações, menos impostos. E se você é como eu e não gosta que políticos mandem na sua vida, mandem no seu dinheiro, nos seus recursos, então eu acho que você deveria considerar os ideais de livre comércio e soberania individual. Obrigado pela atenção.
I absolutely agree. Having somebody who comes in who is bringing down taxes, who's opening up economic opportunity, and who is lessening regulations on what one is able to do economically, it's great. It definitely helps for a country to develop. It helps for businesses to get into place and just for free markets to prosper. So I think that is exciting, and I could see from that perspective that I would want to buy into that possibility.
I think the basis of his point is correct. Like, he wants more economic freedom, and I think the easy view is less regulations and less control. A politician usually means, the idea behind it is it means it'll come back to me rather than going to someone else.
It's very clear that the wave that is happening or kind of around the world is from this very distant distrust of the government in all forms. And I think what is interesting is that Trump and Bolsonaro are capitalizing on the sort of unease that people have in terms of government involvement in their lives, but it's from the way that they're doing it.
I get that people hate regulations, but regulations are just rules for business. There's a regulation that I'm not allowed to take food out of the store without paying for it, so technically that's a regulation on a human. So I don't necessarily hate regulations because they keep corporations from killing people on accident, but I get how people don't want the power in the government. That's sort of the struggle politically, is that you either want the power to be not in the government's hands or not in the hands of somebody who's just making money and everything else falls underneath that. So
the hard part is the reality of a lot of how that works in reality versus talking about it is the wealth distribution usually doesn't fall downward. It falls upward. By deregulating things, the money is not going to go to the everyday person. It usually goes to big tax breaks for companies or in the hands of people who are already wealthy that really don't need that tax break. I actually see his idea behind it, but I don't think it plays out. It's too black and white and doesn't really play out that way throughout all of history, really.
I don't know exactly how the Brazilian government works, but
Not well.
Yeah. I know in America, I don't know that I trust corporations any more than I trust governments.
Olá, amigo gringo, meu nome é Thiago, sou do Espírito Santo, cachoeiro do Itapemirim, terra do rei Roberto Carlos. Bom, espero que o Bolsonaro diminua a máquina pública como prometido, libere o porte de arma, direito constitucional de defesa, prescrito na Constituição da República Federativa do Brasil. Pois bem, fazendo desta feita com seu time dos sonhos de ministros, uma reforma do Código Penal, do Código de Execução Penal, creio que o Brasil vai melhorar. O Brasil vai ser grande novamente. É o que eu espero. É o que nós brasileiros de coração, nós precisamos acreditar nisso. Precisamos. E isso vai acontecer. Brasil acima de tudo. Deus acima de todos.
I disagree. I like firearms for hunting. My dad goes out and hunts, and I think that's a great use for it. The tone of voice made me feel like I would be afraid if this person had a gun on him. I don't want my neighbors to have guns. I don't want to have a gun. I'd rather have a conversation. And I think that's important, that people move forward with a conversation and start from there. And it's not God, country, and like if you're not with me, you're against me. I think we need to try and find a common ground together.
He said make Brazil great again, which is very much a Trump thing, which was stolen from Reagan. I don't know.
So there was like a very nationalistic, comment like Brazil above all, and same thing in America, like let's put Americans first, and make comments of like self-defense and gun laws. And gun laws are very controversial here. It's not as simple like there's school shootings in America, and then the answer is, well, maybe we'll arm the teachers. That's putting more guns into the mix doesn't seem the right idea for it.
I get the whole want to defend yourself and feel strong and feel empowered, and I think that's where people get fed up, because government tends to reward the powerful, because the powerful get government people into office. And unfortunately, I would predict that this guy is probably going to have a lot of the same issues as the previous guy.
Very aggressive about wanting guns and like wanting to have that like militaristic power. And I think it's like a lot of the language, like I don't want to say idolatrize the US, but like kind of like look up to the way that neoconservatives are sort of organizing in like small militias here.
Bolsonaro openly admires the United States.
Okay.
Make things great again usually means make me rich again, when a politician and or businessman is saying it.
E aí, gringos? Meu nome é Álvaro, eu sou do Rio de Janeiro. Uma coisa que eu acho que vai ser muito boa no governo Bolsonaro vai ser o combate à corrupção. O Brasil é um país muito rico, a gente paga muito imposto em saúde, educação, segurança, dinheiro que não é revertido pra gente nesses setores, porque políticos roubam o nosso dinheiro todo dia. E uma coisa que ele fala que faz muito sentido é que se parar de roubar, tem dinheiro. Valeu aí, pessoal.
This guy's point is a little bit more like understandable. Hoarding wealth is a problem here too. I think that his hope that Bolsonaro will kind of like encourage people not to steal, and like that's going to be what makes the money manifest. I think it's not a bad idea. I just don't know if it's going to work out that way.
That's a solid argument. I mean, I honestly believe that that governments. I mean, I don't honestly believe that it's party specific. I don't know that it's his party's better or worse than the other party. Governments oftentimes misuse money that's intended to be used to help people, and this guy's clearly fed up with the previous governments.
Yeah, I could agree with that angle, and I think when you have a lot of corruption by a political party, it has the side effects of making someone who's very strong and like, I'm going to crack down on this, much more attractive.
If he is actually able to end corruption and get money to the services that people need to make the nation better, that would be amazing if it happens.
Oi, amigo gringo, aqui é a Andressa Montes Pisibliski, de Ponta Grossa, Paraná, e o motivo pelo qual eu votei no Bolsonaro é porque eu sou contra o Foro de São Paulo, que é a instituição do bolivarianismo, do socialismo aqui na América Latina. E todos os partidos de esquerda do Brasil estão alinhados com o Foro de São Paulo, e a grande mídia escondeu o foro durante 16 anos, então muitas pessoas não conhecem verdadeiramente o motivo pelo qual nós somos conservadores. Obrigada.
I don't understand. I don't know what the forum is.
It seems to be, as far as I understand, an annual meeting of Latin American leftist parties, including extreme leftists and less extreme leftists. So it's seen as a little bit of a communist monster to the right.
Ooh.
Seems like her vote was almost a vote against something else. She sees the country as going too left and too extreme, and this is like almost like a protest, like we need to bring it back more to the right to counteract the left.
Eu votei no Bolsonaro por muitos outros motivos que não cabem nesse vídeo, mas é basicamente porque eu moro no sertão da Bahia, que é muito seco, as pessoas passam muita dificuldade, as pessoas não produzem e o PT não faz nada por isso. O Bolsonaro ele teve uma proposta melhor para a seca do nosso sertão.
I think it's the same sort of logic that we saw like with white farmers, like rural workers here, right here, what's been working, what has been in place like hasn't been working, and so they're willing to try somebody who's going to recognize the position.
I don't know what the proposal is, so I don't know. I mean, if the proposal was, hey, you know what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it rain more, then that's a bad idea. But if he said my proposal is that we work on irrigation and we try to get systems in place, you know, and there's something like, so it depends on the logical of the proposition.
I can see being somebody who works in the countryside, who works with the land, not having that tool, not having that resource available to you, you need a way to make a living, you need a way to make a life. And so if there's a promise for that, I would follow that promise also.
She feels that the party that she voted for, the Workers' Party, does not really care about helping them, and she was going to look to someone else to kind of fill that void.
I'm just disappointed that, like, that
Just say it.
She's a woman of color. I think every time that I see that going for like the right and like a very neoconservative like ideal, it disappoints me because it forces us to like realize that even the left like isn't properly taking care of everyone.
I'm Felipe from Rio Grande do Sul. Bolsonaro's gonna get rid of the state-owned companies created by the Workers' Party administration. For example, a company was created to develop the bullet train from Rio to São Paulo for the Soccer World Cup in the year 2014 and the Olympic Games in Rio in the year 2016. We don't have a bullet train yet, but we still have that company depending on monthly allowances from the taxpayer money.
If you think somebody's wasting money and you think somebody's going to save you money, I get that logic. As long as your facts are correct, then sure, why not?
Yeah, I would want to end that also. Having a government that's able to properly allocate funding would be amazing.
And I can see people being frustrated if they're having a hard time getting jobs or not getting the assistance maybe they need, and they say, but what we're funding this company whose sole purpose was intended to create this, and we never even did that.
Hello, amigo gringo. I'm Paulo from Morrinhos, Goiás.
Peraí. Pessoal, essa pessoa está vestida de uma camisa da União Soviética. Vamos tentar não comentar sobre isso. Vamos ouvir o que ele vai falar, porque ele faz alguns pontos bem interessantes e não é o comunista que alguns de vocês estão pensando.
Given your request, I'm making this video, but I did not vote for Bolsonaro. First of all, because I do not believe in saviors. Secondly, because there were another better options, such as Ciro, such as Álvaro Dias, João Moedo. I honestly hope that Bolsonaro makes the difference, but I do not see in his speech anything that is different from what we've had so far. Bolsonaro thinks that global warming is a joke. His proposals for retirement and labor rights are very unclear. He attacks the free press and human rights. I hope I'm wrong, but the next days will be very, very tough. See you. Até mais, amigo gringo.
Again, I don't know enough about Bolsonaro, but if he says that climate change is a joke, then I might. Scientists tend to disagree with that.
I really, really liked his first point. Like, I don't believe in saviors. Like, that's something that I resonate with very heavily. It seemed very humbling to hear that. Like, he hopes for the sake of the country that, like, this happens, like, the good things that are supposed to happen, but they're not believable. And, like, I can kind of identify with that feeling, too. Like, you know, even when you don't want whoever is in charge to be in charge, like, you have to hope that they're going to do what's best for everyone.
He seems very thoughtful, actually, because while he didn't vote for the guy, he's like, I hope that it works out, which you sort of want everybody to, at the end of an election, say, look, I didn't vote for him, but let's try to make things work.
I actually think he has the right attitude. I think you hope for the best at your country. You should always remember, especially like in a democracy, it isn't someone who controls everything. There's still a government, and there's still people, and there's still ways you could help people and do the right thing and make the changes you want to see.
I agree with him. I don't think that there is any sort of savior. We have to come together and we have to work together in order to make the world a better place. It's not one person, it's all of us.
If he's vilifying the media, while I don't think that the media is always right, I think vilifying them is maybe not the best way to go about it. Not a big fan of people who try to create a villain of the other side instead of trying to be the hero themselves.
One thing that I noticed about our fans that sent in videos for Bolsonaro is nobody mentioned that he they voted for him because he doesn't believe in climate change, or because of some racist things he has said, or some things that he has said have been interpreted as sexist, or his attacks on the press. So it's interesting, they didn't mention that, they mentioned a whole bunch of other things, but not that. Maybe that means that that the people who send things in are not sort of the extremists that some of his voters were.
So he seems to be a guy who inspires an extreme sector of a party, but also plays to the frustrations of a lot of people.
I believe that in the very firm sense, like, how can you be my neighbor and hate black people? Like, we can't build a discourse from that space, because at the end of the day, I think what happens is that you miss that key point. So like when the last guy is mentioning, like, he doesn't believe in climate change, and then so what does that mean then for the young woman who's experiencing the drought, right? And can you see that overlay? And so I think, like, not connecting those two in the arguments for the people who submitted, like, kind of shows that they're not looking at how these are actually going to affect them in a long term, and I think, or are unable to see it in this moment.
When it comes to taking a vote, sometimes it just comes down to needing change and hoping for a better life. And I think that's kind of sometimes all we can hope for, is to see something different.
I went through it here, right? And you never hear someone going on, if they talk about voting for Trump, it's very similar things. Like, he's going to put America first. He's going to bring jobs back. He's going to increase our rights. He's going to have gun rights, stay. And I almost think it's like they want to misremember what was said. They seem to, like, I know he said that, but I'm going to block out that he said all these terrible things. And it sounds like people are like, we're going to gloss over that. Let's pretend it never happened. And the reason I want to pretend it never happened is because I want to vote for him.
Obrigado, pessoal, por assistir o vídeo. Só queria fazer um comentário final. Vocês notaram que nenhuma das pessoas que mandaram vídeos falou que votei em Bolsonaro porque ele vai explorar os recursos naturais da Amazônia, ou que eu apoio as coisas que ele falou no passado sobre mulheres ou sobre grupos minorias sociais. Então, eu estava pensando nisso e pensei, ok, obviamente não todo mundo que votou nele apoia todo o que ele acredita. Então, uma dica, um conselho de um gringo, ok? Que está meio se metendo no meio dessa polêmica, ok? Desculpa. Quem votou no Bolsonaro, se ele fizer alguma coisa que você não apoia, ou você acha odioso, você não gosta, não tem que apoiar só porque você votou nele. Então, quem gosta de algumas das propostas dele vai apoiar essas propostas, mas pode falar quando ele faz algo que você não gosta e você não apoia. Vocês não têm que apoiar 100% do que ele faz. Do mesmo jeito, quem votou contra Bolsonaro ou votou por Haddad, vocês não têm que odiar 100% das coisas que ele faz. Talvez vá parecer, eu sei que é incrível pensar nisso, mas talvez se ele faça alguma coisa que você acha positiva, aí você fala, olha, ele fez algo que eu apoio, ele fez algo positivo. É muito mais fácil falar para um eleitor do outro lado, nossa, eu gostei de algo que fez o Bolsonaro, mas essa pessoa vai estar muito mais aberto a ouvir seu lado.